In this video, you'll discover why some people thrive while others are just spinning their wheels. You'll realize that having money in your pocket starts with having your head on straight. Stay until the end, because this could be the key you've been missing in your life. Stick around and see for yourself. Chapter 1. The most common mistake: seeking money without preparing your mind to receive it. Most people think the answer to their problems is just making more money. They work overtime, juggle multiple jobs, or dive into businesses that don't align with their true purpose. And yet, they're still stuck, spinning their wheels. That's the biggest mistake: chasing money without preparing your mind to receive it. Florence Scovel Shinn nailed it when she said, "Your mind is an invisible magnet. It can pull in prosperity or push it away, depending on what it quietly holds on to." This explains why so many people, even after getting a raise or stumbling into a great opportunity, end up back in the same place, broke and frustrated. They never rewired the mental programming that sustains abundance. You see this all over the Bible. Take the Israelites leaving Egypt. They walked out of slavery loaded with gold, silver, and riches, Exodus 12 verses 35 to 36, but they were still carrying a slave mindset. That's why they grumbled in the desert, lost their focus, and even longed to go back to captivity. All the external wealth in the world couldn't anchor their prosperity because their minds weren't ready for freedom. Here's the real difference between getting rich and becoming prosperous. You might hustle your way to a quick windfall, but lasting prosperity demands inner alignment. As Florence put it, no one can keep on the outside what they haven't first claimed on the inside. That's the key. Think about it. Picture someone hitting the lottery. Stats show most of them are broke again within a few years. Why? Because they never built the mental framework to manage, grow, or expand wealth. The money showed up, but their mind wasn't ready. Poof, it's gone. Biblical prosperity isn't just about stacking cash. It's about preparation. Look at Joseph in Egypt. He didn't become governor just because he could interpret dreams. His mind had been forged through hardship. He learned to manage, stay faithful, and hold on to faith even in prison. When opportunity came, he was ready to multiply it. How do you prepare your mind? Florence says it plain. Change your words, shift your thoughts, transform your beliefs. When you start seeing yourself as worthy of abundance, you act in sync with it. Money stops feeling like some far-off dream and starts flowing naturally. If you're watching this and feeling that frustration, pouring in effort but going nowhere, take a deep breath. It's not more hustle you need, it's a mental reset. Stop chasing money and start preparing your mind to receive it. If this hits home, drop a comment below. I'm preparing my mind for abundance. Speak it out loud and start claiming your new reality today. Chapter 2. Florence and Inner Discipline. Why aligned thinking attracts fortune. A lot of folks believe prosperity comes down to luck or grinding themselves into the ground. But both the Bible and Florence Scovel Shinn's teachings tell a different story. True wealth springs from inner discipline. A mind in alignment is the foundation for every ounce of abundance you'll ever see. Florence put it like this: an unguarded mind is like a house without doors. Any thief can walk right in. If you don't take charge of your thoughts, fear, doubt, and comparison will sneak in and take over. And what comes from that chaos? Scarcity. Not because the world's running low on resources, but because your inner world isn't ready to receive them. Look at Daniel in the Bible. Even in a foreign land, under the rule of pagan kings, he thrived because he kept his inner discipline tight. He didn't let himself get swayed by lavish feasts or the reckless lifestyle of the royal court. Instead, he aligned his mind and heart with God. The result: wisdom, favor, and wealth flowed to him naturally. The same goes for us. People with crazy talent often stay stuck because they're out of alignment. They think scarcity, talk failure, and act defeated. Meanwhile, others with less obvious gifts soar because they've learned to master their minds. Florence drives it home. Discipline of thought is the greatest wealth, because all other riches flow from it. This isn't about shallow positive thinking, it's about syncing your mind with a deeper truth. Abundance is your natural state when you trust in the divine and stay consistent. Take Joseph again. Before he ruled Egypt, his character was tested. In prison, He could have drowned in bitterness. Instead, he chose faith, hope, and vision. That inner discipline lifted him up when his moment came. If he'd let resentment take over, his calling would have slipped right by. Now, think about yourself. How often do you sabotage your own path by letting runaway thoughts steer the ship? You might catch yourself saying, "I'll never make it," "Wealth's not for me," or "It's too late." Those aren't just words, they're declarations that slam doors shut. Inner discipline starts with staying vigilant. Florence had a practical tip. Watch every word that comes out of your mouth. When you catch yourself speaking lack, flip it to a statement of abundance. This isn't wishful thinking, it's retraining your mind. The Bible backs this up. As a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Proverbs 23 verse 7. If your mind's tuned to scarcity, you'll live it. But if it's dialed into abundance, you'll draw in circumstances that match that truth. The road isn't easy, but it's solid. Inner discipline is like a muscle. You build it bit by bit, day by day. You don't have to overhaul every thought at once. Just start aligning them, one by one. If this message resonates with you, write in the comments, "I choose inner discipline." This is already an act of faith and a declaration of alignment. Florence concludes this teaching with a simple but definitive statement: what is in order within me attracts order outside of me. Chapter 3, Jacob in Paddan Aram, prospering even in exploitative lands. Many believe prosperity only happens in perfect settings, with ideal conditions and fair people around them. But Jacob's story in Paddan Aram proves otherwise. Even in a place of exploitation, you can thrive when God's blessing and mental discipline are at work. Jacob fled his home because of conflict with his brother Esau and found refuge with Laban. But Laban wasn't a good guy. He took advantage of Jacob's strength, manipulated deals, changed wages, and squeezed every drop of his dedication. To the human eye, prospering in a place like that seemed impossible. Yet Jacob didn't just survive, he built wealth, started a family, and left Paddan Aram as a prosperous, respected man. Florence Scovel Shinn hit the nail on the head. It's not external conditions that determine your abundance, but the quality of your consciousness. That's exactly what we see in Jacob. He didn't let injustice define who he was. He kept working diligently, stayed focused, and trusted in God's promise. This biblical story holds a mirror up to our lives. How many of us are stuck in jobs or situations that feel like they're draining us dry, offering little in return? How many feel trapped in a modern-day Paddan Aram, where everything seems unfair? The message is crystal clear: you can prosper even there, because the source of your abundance isn't your boss, your paycheck, or your circumstances. It's God, working through your inner discipline. Florence drives it home. A mind that refuses to accept exploitation is already on the path to freedom. Jacob didn't see exploitation as his destiny, he saw it as a season. He knew God's promise was with him, and that kept him grounded in confidence. And here's the powerful kicker. Even at a disadvantage, Jacob thrived because he leaned on wisdom. The Bible tells of his strategy with the speckled and spotted flocks, a divinely inspired plan that made his wealth outgrow Laban's. This shows us that when you stay aligned with a vision of abundance, you unlock creativity even in the midst of exploitation. Now think about your own life. Maybe you're in a spot where you feel exploited, undervalued, or trapped in circumstances that seem to choke out your dreams. But just like Jacob, you can turn that place into fertile ground for growth. The secret is not letting an exploitative environment define your mind. If you give in to resentment, grumbling, or despair, you'll block the flow of prosperity. But if you choose to stay mentally disciplined, as Florence teaches, you'll start seeing opportunities rise up where no one else expects them. And when the time was right, Jacob didn't just leave Paddan Aram, he walked away enriched, respected, and protected. The same can happen for you. The place that feels like a prison will one day be remembered as the soil where your wealth began to bloom. If this message resonates with you, drop in the comments, "I prosper anywhere." That declaration is an act of aligning with the divine law of abundance. Florence sums it up perfectly. Whoever carries abundance in their mind brings wealth with them, even in lands of scarcity. Chapter 4, Words that Open Doors. The difference between talking about limits and talking about abundance. Words aren't just sounds that vanish into thin air. They carry energy, shape atmospheres, and build realities. Florence Scovel Shinn nailed it. Every word is a seed, and each seed carries within it the harvest it will produce. That means when we talk about limits, lack, or impossibilities, we're planting trees of scarcity. But when we declare abundance, wealth, and blessings, we swing open invisible doors that lead to prosperity. The Bible backs this up. Proverbs 18 verse 21 says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit." How many people today are tasting the bitter results of words they tossed out carelessly? Phrases like, "I'll never make it," "money's always tight," or "everything goes wrong for me," act like keys that lock the doors to progress. Think about Jacob and his sons during the famine in Egypt. When everything seemed hopeless, Joseph didn't speak words of despair. He talked solutions, strategies, and provision from above. That shift in language opened doors not just for him, but for all of Israel. Florence put it simply, "Don't speak of what you fear, speak of what you desire." It's a straightforward idea, but it changes destinies. How often do you, maybe without realizing, reinforce limits instead of expanding your vision? Every time you say, "I can't," your mind takes it as a command and shuts down possibilities. But when you declare, "I can," even when everything around you screams otherwise, you turn a key that unlocks new paths. In practice, notice how small shifts in language can transform the energy of your life. Instead of saying, "My paycheck barely gets me by," try declaring, "Money flows to me from expected and unexpected sources." Instead of, "I'm just not lucky," say, "Everything works together for my good, and my abundance grows every day." This principle is so powerful that even Jesus used it. When faced with Jairus' daughter, thought to be dead, he didn't say, "She's gone." He declared, "She's only sleeping." And the girl got up. His words shifted the atmosphere. Florence likened words to a spiritual hammer. When used right, they smash chains of scarcity and open invisible doors. But when used carelessly, they build walls of limitation. Ask yourself, what have you been declaring lately? Are your words building or breaking? The key to abundance is already in your mouth. You just need to turn it in the right lock. Drop this in the comments. My words open doors of prosperity. This isn't just engagement, it's aligning with the spiritual law of abundance. Florence sums it up with a truth worth etching in your mind. You master your destiny when you master your words. Chapter 5. When effort is not enough. The mathematics of the invisible that multiplies results. The world is full of hard-working people who, despite grinding day and night, stay trapped in the same cycle. Overdue bills, mounting debt, dreams shelved indefinitely. Florence Scovel Shinn explained this reality with crystal clarity. It's not human effort that creates prosperity, but a consciousness of abundance that opens the channels of provision. That might sting a bit, because we've been taught that sweat alone guarantees a harvest. Sure, effort matters, but when it's not aligned with divine mathematics, it's like spinning your wheels in place. The Bible gives us a striking example in Luke 5. Peter and his fishing buddies spent the whole night casting nets and caught nothing. The effort was there, but the results weren't. Then Jesus showed up and said, "Cast your net on the right side of the boat." They obeyed, and the haul was so massive it nearly tore their nets. The difference wasn't more hustle, it was following guidance from the unseen. Florence pointed out that many fail because they mistake persistence for stubbornness. Persistence means pressing forward while adjusting your course based on spiritual intuition. Stubbornness is repeating the same mistakes, hoping the outcome will magically change. She taught, the invisible is the true laboratory of abundance. Ignore that math, and you'll just keep multiplying exhaustion. We see this in the stories of great biblical figures. Joseph, stuck in prison, had no resources or freedom, yet he prospered because he carried the consciousness that God was his source. Even in captivity, he interpreted dreams and drew favor. His physical effort was limited, but the invisible math, faith, vision, and aligned words multiplied opportunities. Look at your own life. How many times have you pushed past your limits and still seen no progress? Maybe the issue wasn't how much you worked, but the absence of a spiritual key. Effort without vision is like planting seeds in barren soil. No matter how much you water, nothing grows. Florence taught that the perfect combo is inspired action. Work, yes, but only after aligning your thoughts, faith, and declarations. It's about acting not just out of necessity, but because you've already seen the outcome in your mind. Like an architect who doesn't build walls without a blueprint, your mind needs to see the vision before your body can build it. Here's the secret. Effort is the tool, but faith is the fuel. Without faith, effort wears you out. With faith, even small actions multiply. One step taken in confidence can outweigh 1,000 taken in desperation. If this clicks for you, drop in the comments, "I choose the mathematics of the invisible." This isn't just engagement, it's an act of aligning with the spiritual law that drives results. Florence would sum it up like this: what you gain through effort alone can slip away. What you claim through consciousness stands unshaken. Chapter 6: Esther in the Palace. Favor and prosperity for those who have the courage to take a stand. Esther was a young orphan, with no wealth or status, yet her story reveals one of the most powerful secrets to prosperity: the courage to take a stand. She was chosen to be Queen of Persia, but it wasn't just her beauty that kept her on the throne, it was her boldness to recognize she was there for a greater purpose. When her nation faced destruction, she didn't back down. Instead, she declared, "If I perish, I perish." That decision opened doors of favor and prosperity, not just for her, but for her entire people. Florence Scovel Shinn put it perfectly: the person who doesn't take a stand before life will be swept away by the current of doubt. How many people do you know who hide behind the fear of failure? Who crave wealth but shy away from claiming the place life offers them? Prosperity doesn't come to those who linger on the sidelines. It blooms for those bold enough to step into the palace and raise their voice. Here's the thing: Esther had no guarantees. She didn't know how the king would react to her plea. But she understood that the mathematics of abundance isn't about human logic. It's about faith and clarity of purpose. It's the same principle Florence taught in her New York lectures. The universe responds to those who speak with authority, not those who mutter in silence. In practice, this means life demands you take a stand. How many businesses never took off because their owners were too scared to take a risk? How many opportunities slipped away because someone didn't dare raise their hand and say, "I'm ready"? Abundance responds to courage. Here's a key truth: favor always shows up when you align courage with purpose. Esther wasn't chasing wealth for herself, she was fighting to save her people. When your motivation is bigger than your ego, provision multiplies. Florence would sum it up like this: the person who seeks only for themselves ends up empty, but the one who seeks with purpose becomes an unstoppable channel of abundance. So, where do you need to take a stand today? Maybe it's at work, demanding the recognition you deserve. Maybe it's in your relationships, clearly stating what you won't tolerate anymore. Or maybe it's with yourself, deciding you're done living a life of scarcity. If this reflection struck a chord with you, hit that subscribe button now. Here, we dive into how to apply Florence Scovel Shinn's spiritual wisdom and biblical lessons to transform your mind, your finances, and your destiny. By subscribing, you won't miss a single teaching that could be the turning point in your story. To its core, Esther shows us that wealth isn't just about money. It's about favor, respect, and the power to change realities. And it all starts with one decision: the courage to claim the place life has already set aside for you. Florence would wrap up this chapter with a simple, powerful line: courage is the password that unlocks the doors of the impossible. Chapter 7: Florence and the Science of the Invisible. Wealth is built on faith before pockets. Have you ever noticed that everything in the material world first takes shape in the unseen? Before a building rises in concrete, it exists as a blueprint. Before a company thrives, it's just an idea in someone's mind. Florence Scovel Shinn hammered this home: imagination is God's studio. Everything you see first existed in the realm of faith. The mistake so many make is chasing wealth through sheer physical effort, missing the truth that real prosperity starts in the invisible. It's in that realm of faith where money, opportunities, and connections are shaped. Life always works from the inside out. Those who try to flip that process end up stuck in a cycle of failed attempts, piling up debts and frustrations. The Bible nails this in Hebrews 11 verse 1. Faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. In other words, Wealth doesn't begin in your wallet. It starts with the inner certainty that you're already prosperous. Joseph, even in prison, carried the vision of leadership. Abraham, landless, saw himself as the father of nations. They proved you have to believe before you receive. Florence put it like this: those who speak of lack keep living in it. Those who speak of abundance build an inexhaustible reserve in the unseen. Every word you speak either fuels wealth or reinforces scarcity. How many times have you said, "I'll never make it"? Those words are bricks, building walls against your prosperity. Here's the secret. Faith isn't sitting back and waiting. It's acting with the confidence that the invisible is already working in your favor. Esther didn't know if the king would grant her request, but she walked into that room like a queen. David, facing Goliath, had no sword, but he already saw himself victorious. That's the science of the unseen. You act like you've got it before you see it. Think about it. How many projects have you shelved because you didn't have enough money? Florence would remind you, money always flows to those who see themselves ready to use it. When faith prepares the ground, your pockets will inevitably bloom. If these truths are lighting up your mind, drop a like on this video. It helps spread this message to more people and strengthens our community. And if you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss content that could transform your financial and spiritual future. In the end, wealth isn't a race against time. It's a process of invisible construction. What you plant in the field of faith, you'll inevitably reap in the field of finances. Florence summed it up best: the invisible is always more real than what your eyes can see. Chapter 8: The Bad Company of the Mind. Thoughts that steal your financial future. You've probably heard the saying, "Tell me who you hang out with, and I'll tell you who you are." Florence Scovel Shinn taught that this doesn't just apply to your external friendships but, more importantly, to your inner companions, the thoughts you nurture every day. They're like invisible friends tagging along with every decision. Some lift you up, others drag you down. Many believe poverty comes from bad financial choices or a lack of opportunities. But in the spiritual view, the biggest enemy of wealth isn't out there. It's inside, in the form of toxic ideas, repeated phrases, and beliefs that sabotage progress. Florence put it bluntly: your mind is fertile ground. If you let it be overrun by the weeds of negative thoughts, you'll never harvest abundance. Stop and think. How often do you catch yourself mentally repeating lines like, "I don't deserve it," "It'll never work out," or "I wasn't born to be rich"? Those thoughts are silent thieves. They don't just steal your energy, they slam shut doors that could have opened. It's like you're unconsciously sabotaging yourself before opportunity even knocks. The Bible warns in 1 Corinthians 15 verse 33, "Bad company corrupts good character." If that's true for the people you hang out with, it's just as true for the thoughts you entertain. When your mind cozies up to doubt, fear, or scarcity, it becomes an accomplice to a system that keeps you small. Look at Gideon's story. When the angel called him a mighty warrior, he shot back, "Me? I'm the least in my family." Gideon's bad company was his own sense of inferiority. Yet, when he chose to align with what God said about him, he became the leader of a victorious army. The miracle started with a shift in mindset. Florence drove this home. Abundance begins when you evict the tenants of scarcity squatting in your mind. Those tenants are thoughts of comparison, envy, fear of the future, and even the false humility that makes some reject prosperity as if it's a sin. As long as you give these voices a home, there's no room for faith and confidence to settle in. This is where daily discipline comes in. Guard your thoughts like you're protecting a vault. Keeping doubt out is as crucial as saving or investing money. Sure, cash might slip through your fingers from bad decisions, but a fortified mind will always attract new opportunities. If this reflection is helping you spot the invisible thieves stealing your prosperity, drop a comment sharing which negative thought you struggle most to kick out. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button. Together, we're building a community that believes in the power of words and faith to transform destinies. Remember, true wealth doesn't start in your wallet but in the quiet of your mind. Guard your thoughts, and you make room for abundance to settle in. Cling to the bad company of negative thoughts, and you're stuck in a cycle of scarcity. Choose today to evict those inner thieves and make space for the ideas that build the future you want. Chapter 9: Solomon and the unexpected request. When wisdom brings gold without you asking. Imagine being the richest king in the world. Solomon. He could have asked for anything: gold, glory, absolute power. But his choice was different. He asked for wisdom. Florence Scovel Shinn often reminds us that true wealth doesn't start in your bank account, but in your mind and soul. Solomon got this long before we did. By asking for wisdom, he not only pleased God but also drew in gold, riches, and honor without even directly asking for money. How many times have you chased cash like it's the only fix for life's problems? Florence puts it plainly: when you put the desire for material things above divine clarity and intention, you risk running in circles, never reaching what you want. Solomon shows us the opposite path. Wisdom first, abundance follows. The Bible backs this up in 1 Kings 3 verses 13 to 14. God gave Solomon not just wisdom but also riches and honor he didn't even ask for directly. This is the secret Florence Scovel Shinn hammers home. When your mind and words align with divine principles, the universe works in your favor, often in ways you never saw coming. Solomon teaches us that real gold starts with choosing what truly matters. He didn't get swept up in greed, but focused on ruling with discernment. The result: wealth and stability flowed naturally, a byproduct of his wise choice. Here's the key for your own financial life: stop obsessing over money alone. Florence stresses that material wealth is the result of a right mindset. Words, thoughts, and actions guided by spiritual principles spark opportunities you couldn't dream up. Like Solomon, if you seek wisdom, clarity, discernment, vision, money and resources will follow as a natural outcome. And don't kid yourself. Asking for wisdom takes guts to act with integrity, discipline to wait, and unshakable faith that the best will come at the right time. Plenty of people want quick cash, but few grasp that the right request, made with pure intention, is infinitely more powerful than any get-rich-quick scheme. Are you chasing money without seeking wisdom? Drop a comment below. What's your biggest struggle? Acting with smarts or just waiting for results? And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do it now to get more life-changing teachings on transforming your financial mindset with Florence Scovel Shinn and the Bible. Chapter 10. A good head, a full pocket. Transforming wealth into a legacy that never disappears. Florence Scovel Shinn always taught that wealth isn't just what you stack up, it's what you pass on. A full bank account without an aligned mind is like a sandcastle by the shore. It looks nice but won't last. True prosperity, Florence says, comes from blending intelligence, faith, and action guided by divine purpose. The Bible echoes this in Proverbs 13 verse 22. A good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children. This shows that lasting wealth isn't just material, it's spiritual and mental. Abraham, Joshua, and Daniel proved that a true legacy comes from conscious choices and a disciplined mind, ready to multiply not just possessions but values that endure. A fat wallet is great, but turning that wealth into a legacy is divine. Florence stresses that your mind is the invisible field where prosperity's seeds are sown. Words of gratitude, declarations of faith, and wise decisions bear fruit not just for you but for generations to come. Think small and you lose. Think big with purpose and you create eternal impact. Here's the practical step. Organize your finances, but root them in spiritual principles. Give generously, invest in education, share opportunities. The Bible says in 2 Corinthians 9 verses 6 to 8 that those who sow generously reap abundantly. It's not just about money, it's about multiplying lives, knowledge, and positive influence. Florence puts it perfectly. The right word spoken at the right time opens doors no human force can shut. So, use your voice, your thoughts, and your faith to create not just wealth but a legacy that transforms families and communities. Now, reflect. Do you want just a full wallet or a life that leaves lasting fruit? Drop a comment below. What kind of legacy do you want to build? Financial, spiritual, or emotional? And if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel to learn how to turn wealth into an eternal legacy with teachings from Florence Scovel Shinn and the Bible. Remember, wealth without purpose fades, wealth with purpose multiplies. A sharp mind fills your pockets, but a wise mind creates a legacy that lasts forever. True wealth isn't just about having cash in your pocket, it's about cultivating a wise mind, unwavering faith, and lasting purpose. Florence Scovel Shinn reminds us that every thought, word, and action shapes the flow of abundance, and the Bible confirms, those who plant with intention reap beyond what they expect. Wealth without direction fades fast. Aligning your mind, faith, and actions with divine principles transforms not just your life but creates a legacy for generations to come. A sharp mind and full pockets are great, but a prosperous soul and enduring legacy are eternal. Until the next video.